Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about both major upcoming winter storms. I'm very excited to be talking about that second one finally with you guys. And before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. And I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very awesome Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I want to know which of these two storms do you think is going to be the most major? I think I have an opinion on that, but I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this thing, and let's get right into the first storm to begin things off, and we're starting out at about 11 p.m. tonight on Sunday. So as of tomorrow morning, I'm going to start only talking exclusively about that second storm, so this is my last update for that first storm. As you can see, we're already going to be getting underway there for the south central United States. And by the time we reach about 7 p.m. tomorrow on Monday, January 25th, you can see that we see that low pressure center rise up north and then eventually bringing moderate to heavy snowfall for Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. That's where we think the bullseye is going to be. But even taking it further eastward in through Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, there is some wintry precipitation going on still at that point. There's also a severe weather threat to the south. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on as well. Let's just move on to the next frame, and you can see it actually begins to weaken a little bit as we move forward. This is at about maybe 3 or 4 a.m. there on Tuesday, January 26th. Only seeing light to moderate snowfall, but still for Chicago, take that eastward all the way through Michigan. All right, now what we're going to do here is we're going to move on. We're going to end this storm on the European model, and then we're going to get right into our GFS model, actually, all coming up in just a moment. Alright, now as you can see, we're at about, I would say it's about 11 p.m. there on Tuesday evening, nighttime, and as you can see, that storm is coming to an end for the eastern United States, looking much weaker than originally anticipated. Let's take a look at that GFS model. Again, that bullseye setup over Kansas, over Nebraska, over Iowa. I've really been pinpointing that bullseye for a few days now, and now it's just obviously maximum confidence in that. We're only about 42 hours away. There is some ice to the south still. Again, towards the end of this video, we will take a look at the total ice, and that bullseye is kind of going to extend into Chicago, although it will be weakening by that point, so we're going to see less for Chicago, but that heaviest band really, as you take it eastward, is going to head straight through Chicago, although it will be weaker than it was for the western regions. By the time we reach about 11 a.m. there on Tuesday, you can see it is located again for northern Illinois, including Chicago, southern Michigan, and then even in through Pennsylvania and New York. Again, we take a look at the end of this storm on the GFS model, and it closes out as kind of a weaker storm there for New England. All right, now quickly, let's take a look at that severe weather threat as well. For today, Sunday, the time I'm making this video, through tomorrow morning, which is going to be Monday through about 8 a.m. or so, you can see that there is going to be a slight risk of severe weather. Dallas-Fort Worth area, take that northeastward. That's where we see that slight risk in those yellow regions. The greens is marginal risk. There could be some severe weather there as well. And then for tomorrow, which is, again, Monday, through the morning on Tuesday, we do have a marginal risk there for eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and it up in through Arkansas. Again, I was calling for that to be upgraded there, and that did end up happening. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on and finally move on to that very exciting second storm for you guys. And after that, we're going to get into the total snowfall for both of these storms at the very end of this video, so stay tuned for all of that. All right, now here we are taking a look at about, I would say it's about 3 p.m. there on Wednesday, and you can see that that storm is beginning out west, actually, from Missouri, Illinois, portions of Kentucky, and Indiana there as well. Seeing some snowfall from this system, plenty of precipitation in the southeast, so this is all going to come together and really just create a pretty decent snowstorm here, I believe. Could be more major than that first one, like I've been hinting at this entire video. Let's take this to about 3 or 4 a.m. there on Thursday. The interesting thing is this one really begins in the morning hour, and I live in southeastern Virginia. This storm looks like it could be a snowstorm for me. I'm very excited about that. It's been 3 years since I've seen accumulating snowfall. We average 6 inches a year, so it has been a long wait, probably the longest in my entire life actually living in this region. So I'm really hoping to get some snow here, but either way, I'm excited to be talking about a storm on this channel. It really helps to have the YouTube channel because I'm really happy either way that I have something to talk about. So even if it misses me, I'm going to be generally happy that there is a storm. That's the good news for me. But it does look like this could be a snowstorm for me, which is an even bigger bonus. And the interesting thing here, guys, is that it starts out in the morning hours. Typically, our snowstorms start out in the PM hours and last overnight. This one looks to start out in the morning and last through the whole day, which is super unusual here for this region. That's maybe happened 1 or 2 other times here locally. And this is again by about 3 a.m. You can see moderate to heavy snowfall going on for Ohio, West Virginia, portions of North Carolina, and Virginia as well. Starting out a snowfall on this model for southeastern Virginia with the exclusion there of the very, very immediate coast, which is very typical. The area will eventually switch over to snow according to this model in a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to move on towards that next frame actually in just a moment, where we're going to see heavy snow switch over pretty much for all of the northeastern regions of North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. Now this is by about 7 a.m. So again, very interesting here. The storm is just getting underway. And this track is completely classic, guys. If this is to play out this way, I think this will be a major snowstorm for the southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina, maybe even north central North Carolina region especially. You saw in the thumbnail I had a purple band there. I'm very familiar with this area because I've lived here my entire life, so I'm the most familiar with this area out of anywhere. And I've seen this time and time again, and usually that bullseye actually sets up just to the west of me. In a storm track like this, actually my bullseye estimate, if I had to guess at this point, although it could be anywhere, I would say take Suffolk, Virginia up through about Williamsburg. So just eastward of Richmond, I think is the most likely bullseye in a scenario like this. You see that H set up right over Ohio? That's that Arctic high pressure system, and that is a strong high pressure system, and it hasn't really moved around each model run at all. So as long as there's no major shifts in the intensity of that or the location, we're pretty much in good shape. All right, so we're going to be watching these trends very closely. You can always join our Facebook group as well, Weather Freaks. We're frequently talking about this storm. We've been talking about this storm for days. It's gotten really heated in there. Everybody wants snow. So join the discussion, join the page. That's going to be in the pinned comment down below, of course, for you guys to go ahead and join that. But heavy snow widespread throughout North Carolina and Virginia there. And I think this is a very, very viable solution, actually, just given the location of the high pressure. And again, that has not shifted around very much at all. So I don't see any major shifts going on. We're 100 hours out. We have about a few days to go until this storm is starting out, so there's only so much wiggle room at this point, but we're going to be watching that closely. As you can see, by about 1 p.m., we pretty much close out that storm for eastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina. So again, ending while there's still daylight out, very interesting. What we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at what the GFS model has to say about this one, and then we're going to start getting into some other factors for both of these storms. I'm just going to warn you guys, this is probably going to be an incredibly long video because I'm so excited to talk about this storm in particular. First off, because it could impact my local region. Second off, because we're talking about two major snowstorms in this video, so we have like double the content to go over here. The GFS starts out much further north, and the GFS has been an outlier to the north. There's no other models calling for this storm to be as far north as the GFS model is, which is very interesting because typically the GFS has a tendency to be the furthest south model out of any of them. Something very odd is going on here. Typically, you want to side with the European model if there is a disagreement here, but really either way, anything could happen. This solution reminds me of the winter storm we had in January of 2016. That was Winter Storm Jonas. A weaker version of that, but the track is very similar. You can see we close out a snow still on this model for the eastern seaboard there, but this one has it closing out about 3 p.m. there on Thursday. So still an all-day event there. Let's take a look at what the Canadian model has to say, and I would say this is the most major out of any of them, and it's very close to a hit for my region as well, just to the north. Here we are taking a look at this, and you can tell it does look just like the GFS pretty much. Very heavy snowfall going on for Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Western Virginia as well. And then again, by about the afternoon hour, we do close out a snow. Once that low pressure center moves offshore, that's going to allow for the cold to come in behind it. So even if you start out as rain for a lot of these eastern seaboard regions, you're going to eventually switch over to snow. That seems to be the story of our lives here on the coast. But if the European model solution plays out, there's much less mixing going on, but actually the least amount of snowfall according to all the models. That's a little sneak peek, but here we are taking a look at the total snowfall for that first storm. Don't worry, we will get into the total snowfall for that second storm in a moment, but for the European model, you can see the bullseye set up over Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa there. If you're anywhere in the grays, you're taking a look at about a dusting, if anything. In the lighter blues, 2 to 6 inches of snow. In those purples, 6 to 10, and then in the pinks, 10 to 15 to 20 inches of snow even. And then in those very bright blue colors, kind of teal there, that's 20 inches plus. I don't think it's going to be that high. You'll see my total snowfall forecast at the end of this video. Now for that second storm on the European model, you can see the bullseye is actually set up kind of in those regions I mentioned, actually, kind of, well, it's south of Williamsburg, but still, we do see one bullseye there for West Virginia, but also there in North central northeastern North Carolina there, and then also in through southeast Virginia. We're taking a look at about 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches of snow there in that bullseye there in the southeastern regions of Virginia, northeastern regions of North Carolina. Again, I think that's a very realistic solution here. Given the storm track, I think it could be more snow than that actually. I think 4 to 6 is a pretty good estimate actually with this type of a storm intensifying off the coast. Really, these usually do not drop just light amount of snowfall. They would drop a lot more precipitation. Let's take a look at the GFS model. Again, the bullseye is just a little bit further north there for the first storm. And then for the second storm, you can see this one really likes to see it take a more northerly track. We can see a lot more snowfall for Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Western Virginia. But we still kind of have that eastern seaboard bullseye with, again, maybe 3 or 4 inches of snow for southeastern Virginia, extreme southeastern Virginia, and extreme northeastern North Carolina there. And then even up the Delmarva and through New Jersey as well on that model. Then the Canadian model, here's that first storm, kind of looks like the European model. And then for that second storm, take a look at that. This one has a much more major eastern bullseye here. We can see purples and pinks showing up. That's indicating 10 inches plus. And I don't think that's actually unlikely at this point that we will see somewhere get those 6 to 10 inch amounts at least with this storm, just given the fact that it's going to crash into a 980 millibar low pressure center, or maybe even lower offshore. I really find it hard to believe that we would only see 2 to 6 inches of snow for these regions in the bullseye. I think somebody's getting 6 inches plus from this one on that eastern end of this storm. That's just my personal thoughts at this point. I could change my mind later on, but for now, that's what I'm thinking. Again, for southeastern Virginia, my local region, taking a look at about, if you're outside of that purple region, you're taking a look at about 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then in those purple regions, 6 to 10 inches, even in through those pinks, which is just over 10 inches of snow. And then the freezing rain, you could see significant amounts in those pinks and purples. That's going to be associated with the first storm. So still major amounts of ice expected there with the storm. Anyway, for our snowfall forecast for the first storm, we're not ready to make one for the second storm, but for the first storm, you're expecting a dusting to 3 inches of snow if you're in this white region. If you're in this lighter blue region, well, there's 2 of them actually, you're expecting 3 to 6 inches of snow. In these darker blue regions, you're expecting 6 to 10 inches of snow. And then even 10 to 15 here in these magenta shades. That's our bullseye. For the storm, we've been pretty much staying with the same location for the bullseye, so we haven't changed our mind at all. For the confidence tab, for the first storm, we have moved up to a 5 out of 6, so we're pretty confident. There could be some minor shifts here over the next 24, 48 hours before the storm, but really, our confidence is nearly peaked for this first storm. And for the second storm, our confidence is actually unusually high. As you can see, we're a 3 out of 6 here, so we're starting things out already pretty confident. That high pressure system doesn't have much wiggle room, so this storm, I don't think we're going to see any like 200-mile shifts in any direction. I think minor shifts, if anything, at this point. With the high pressure system being in place, we're going to watch that closely. Any intensity changes with that high pressure system, any location changes could easily change the location slightly, but not major. I could see the bullseye going as far north as Richmond up through into the Delmarva into New Jersey, which would give me all rain. I wouldn't like that. I could see it going a little further south as well, but I don't see this going up into Pennsylvania, upstate New York, anything like that. I think we're pretty locked in as far as being kind of localized with where we think this one's going to go. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what do you think about that 28th system, which is the second storm? And Timothy Oliver said, that storm that's going to hit on the 28th could easily bring some heavy snow to the coast and maybe as far south as North Carolina. And that does appear to be the case at this point, so that's a good comment of the day there. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons. Sebastian Tal, John Benbenick, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Alan Belemo, Adam S., Larry LePan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aidan Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Alan Sherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Cat Bite, Charles Stinnett, Kellen Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, Mark J., Luke Valego, Gary's, and John Quilisi. If you'd like to be on this Patreon end screen of the day, you can do so by joining our very exciting Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.